G'day, I'm Ben from Catch Pro Australia, and today we're going to assemble the new Urban Assault Series Catch Pro Grass Catcher. So first up, we have all of our panels laid out in the first steps. We do have some parts down here that we will just keep separated initially. So we've got our hardware bags and we've got some tools. What you do need is a 10mm socket, a screwdriver, Allen key, we've got a 10mm spanner, and we also do have a Phillips head screwdriver. Helpful hint before we start, what I like to do is to just have a clean area. We'll organise these bits in a minute. But if you get your first hardware bag, which is the assembly body, it's good to have these. You can either lay them out or put them in a fresh container. That's the hardware that we're going to be using first up. Alright, we're going to start by fixing panels A and B together. So we just stand, we've got panel A on the table, and we just run these 3 bolts to connect these 2 together. Now, it's important to just have these finger tight initially, and once you've run all the bolts and got them started, then you can go ahead and tighten them all down. Now that they're all tightened, finger tight, we can go ahead and tighten these up. So then we're going to turn the unit around and add panel C. And we want to start from the front and gradually work our way around. So again, using all of the flange bolts, starting from here. It's good to get all of these started in a row, and then you can come back, finger tight them, and once they're all run, then you can come through and do the last tighten. So all the bolts are run loosely in panel C. Now you can go ahead and you can start them now so that they're almost all the way tightened up. Then we'll come through and nip those up. Now you'll notice in the assembly kit you've got one nut and washer that is unique to the rest of the assembly kit. This part is crucial and it's for this step. Now we're going to connect the two side panels together and you'll notice there's a much bigger clearance hole. Just run this bolt and washer through. It doesn't need to be tightened down yet, you actually do that at the very end. So just run that one in here and it helps fix these two panels together for the next stage. Okay, so now for the top panel, part D. And once again, we just want to start running our bolts from the front to the back evenly on both sides. Doesn't have to be an exact formula, but you just start. Keep these ones pretty loose until you've got all of them run. There is a little bit of movement in this whole unit, and so if you don't have the unit square, you won't be able to run certain bolts. Now we can go ahead and tighten these up. So the top panel's on, now we're going to install piece E. We can turn the unit around and flip it up. Now it just bolts in on the side and the bottom holes are clearance holes. So you can go ahead and run these on with 4 bolts. Once again, you can finger tie these on so they're virtually done and just nip them up with your spanner. Okay, then we're going to install the next side, so then we just tip this up. Helpful hint, if you are working on a table, you just have the catcher on the very end of the table so that this side wall isn't resting up, and then you can install F. We're going to use the last of these bolts in this kit to finish off this. Okay, so now we're ready to install the mouth of the mouth of the catch-up, which is the inlet, and we'll use the separate hardware bag. Easiest way to do this is to flip this all the way around. You can stand, you can tilt this up. I'm going to sit for today's video and get this mouth on. So we're going to install the inlet. You have your hook on here, which we can leave aside. You can you've got a locating pin which you can leave aside, and you can go ahead and the rest of the bolts in this is what we're going to be using on the inlet. And you'll notice there is a bolt and a washer for this part. So now we're going to install part G first, and you can just run the middle section bolt first, keep it fairly loose. And then we can go ahead and run the other two bolts in this section. We're not going to nip those up tight yet. They're finger tight, they're pretty tight, but we're just going to keep them a little bit loose so that we've got a little bit of movement throughout this part. So now we place G on top, and there'll be a little dovetail that connects the two pieces. And once you've got that in the spot, we can go ahead and run the middle inlet. If it moves from here, it's okay. We've got a little bit of movement throughout. So we're just going to get this one in. So now we're going to run piece I onto the inlet, starting by just placing it on the side and running the top bolt. Just have that in loosely so it can hang. And then we want to run the two side bolts in here. Once again, fairly loosely. Once I's installed, we're going to move around to the other side of the inlet, and we're just going to run these in loosely. You'll notice on your Catch Pro you might have two spare holes that will go nowhere. They're for different setups. We do have a couple of different variants, and those ones won't be needed in that fitment. Now we can go ahead and just run the rest of the bolts in any combination is okay. Now that all the bolts are installed the whole way through the inlet, we can go ahead and get these a little tighter and get ready to completely knit them down across the whole inlet. So when we nip all of this down, just remember to come back to the bottom piece, start there. Okay, so now it's time to install the handles. You've got a separate bag there with your handles and some hardware. They are a cap screw, so if you use an Allen key to fix these in, that would be best. Just get the first one in on each side loosely so that you can line the next unit up. There is a bit of play, so it won't line up 100%. Once they both grab, you can tighten them down. While we're here, we can now put the handle on our door. Now we can go ahead and install the door. The way that this installs is to approach from the top action, slide it into the C channel and let that door fall down. Click that in and get the pin in the bottom. Now we're up to installing the locating pin and the hook on the front of the inlet. Now you will have to refer to your mounting bracket instructions because this will change throughout various fitments. I will just give you a generic rundown now so that we can run over it. So with your locating pin, generally this will end up in the first 3 holes of the catcher mouth. So just run this in the hole that you're going to be using. Then I like to get some sort of a vice grip. Pliers are not as good, but you can just get a clamp on that and use a 13mm spanner on the end and just wind this up. meshes on. Then with the hook, usually I like to run this about 50% of the way up the inlet. Some fitments, you can only run them on the rear. However, if your mold will allow you to run this closer to the locating pin, that's what I would recommend. Today we're just going to pop this in here. You've got 2 countersunk screws in the inlet kit that you will then go ahead and install on here. And you can just get the nuts on the back and line these up. So there we have it, the Catch Pro is fully assembled. Now it's ready to go onto your mower and start catching. Don't forget that if you have any issues during the install period, email into Catch Pro Australia and someone will get back to you as quickly as possible.